This was where I used to get dropped off as a kid for weekend visitation. I never liked this place. I still don't, in all honesty. It feels rancid to be back here, but I find myself revisiting it a lot. There used to be a building here, but even when I was a kid it was derelict and abandoned. It has been torn down, and all that remains of it are its cinder block foundations. When I was getting driven to this drop-off point as a child, I recall having a perpetual pit in my stomach, as if there was a black hole inside of me, tearing my insides to shreds. I still feel that pit sometimes, but that numb yet biting sensation has been replaced with more intense feelings and sensations. When I begin to panic now, it feels the way that a heart attack is normally described. My heart races, my extremities begin to feel numb, yet excessively sensitive. I begin to fear that wherever I am that it will be my final destination, and I feel as if the icy hand of death is gripping me tightly. I am on medication for these attacks, but it has not been working as properly as it should as of late. I told my doctor, and she just upped the dosage on it. Medicine also frightens me a great deal, especially when it is medicine specifically geared towards mental disorders or the brain in general. I don't even take non-steroidal anti-inflammatories when I am in physical pain, as I fear blood thinners. If one of those was why Bruce Lee died, I can only imagine what it could do to someone in my shape. My biological father is not a good man. He is a drunk. He is addicted to control in all its forms, and I can recall him never being satisfied with any part of life. When I was being driven here as a kid every other weekend and every other Thursday, I remember feeling fear because I never knew if I would be interrogated when I entered his house or not. He had a streamlined method for it. He would make me sit down with my back to the wall in the kitchen. He would sit across from me at the table, and his evil bitch of a wife would stand in the middle of the room, chiming in as often as possible. She was probably worse than him. She was manipulative as hell. She hated me, and the feeling is still mutual. I remember once, when I was around 11 or 12, that the morning after an hours-long interrogation the night before, that she told me that if my biological father were ever terminally ill, that she would not allow me into the hospital room to see him. They would question me for hours and insult the only true family I have ever known, my mother's side of the family. They would try to get me to confess to things I had not done, to things that my mother's side of the family had not done, and they would sit for hours tormenting me about this. If I did not confess or vent to whatever they said, they would become outwardly abusive. He wanted me to choose between him and my mom. I chose my mom. He didn't like that. He spent 15 years trying to punish me for this. I hope, one day, when he finally dies, that no one will ever remember his name. I hope that his grave goes unnoticed and unvisited. I hope that he suffers the second death, being forgotten as soon as possible. I still have dreams, nightmares, that I am back over there. Sometimes I can fight back. Sometimes I have a machine in my hands, and I melt out the greatest one-liners imaginable while he kneels on the ground with a terrified look on his face. Sometimes I think about what I would do if I had a lot of money. If I were to win the lottery tomorrow, I think that I would buy every house on this street and give the houses to the worst criminals imaginable. Junkies, violent felons, and pedophiles. I would lower his property value to such a point that he would never be able to make his his money back on the sale of the house, and I would make the streets so dangerous and violent that his wretched bitch of a wife could never be visited by her grandchildren ever again. I want them both to live miserably. I want them both to die, penniless and forgotten. I want them both stricken from any historical record.